Japan's most dangerous cult, the rise and fall of Aum Shinrikyo. In the early morning hours of March 20th, 1995, millions of people boarded trains across Tokyo, just like they did every other weekday. Students heading to class, office workers clutching briefcases, parents on their daily commute. None of them knew they were about to become victims of the worst act of domestic terrorism in Japanese history. What unfolded that morning wasn't just an attack. It was the climax of a decade-long descent into fanaticism, chemical warfare, and apocalyptic delusion. At the center of it all was a partially blind, self-proclaimed messiah named Shoko Asahara, and the cult he built, Aum Shinrikyo, the birth of a spiritual movement, 1984 to 1989. Before he called himself Shoko Asahara, he was Chizuo Matsumoto, born in 1955 to a poor tatami mat-making family. Nearly blind in one eye and partially sighted in the other, he grew up isolated and resentful. By the 1980s, Japan was booming economically. It was the height of the bubble era. Wealth, consumerism, and corporate ambition dominated society, but many young people felt spiritually empty. Asahara saw opportunity. In 1984, he opened a small yoga and meditation school in Tokyo. He blended Tibetan Buddhism, Hindu mysticism, apocalyptic Christian prophecy, conspiracy theories, and his own self-declared divine revelations. He renamed the group Aum Shinrikyo, Supreme Truth. By 1989, the Japanese government officially recognized it as a religious corporation. That recognition granted it legal protections and, critically, immunity from certain investigations. Membership exploded. The cult attracted intelligent university students, many from Japan's most elite institutions, scientists, engineers, chemists, doctors. These weren't fringe dropouts. They were the brightest minds in the country, and they handed their lives over to a man who claimed he could levitate. Behind closed doors, torture, mind control, and murder. Publicly, Aum preached enlightenment. Privately, it was something else entirely. Members were forced to donate their savings. Some handed over millions of yen. Families were cut off. Doubt was punished. Sleep deprivation and extreme ascetic practices were common. Those who tried to leave were labeled traitors. In 1989, a Tokyo lawyer named Tsutsumi Sakamoto began investigating the cult after several parents accused Aum of brainwashing their children. He planned to expose them. Before he could, senior Aum members broke into his apartment. They murdered him. They murdered his wife. They murdered their 14-month-old baby. Their bodies were buried in separate remote prefectures to hide the crime. For years, the murders remained unsolved, and the cult grew stronger. Humiliation and radicalization. 1990. In 1990, Asahara made a bold move. He entered politics. He and 24 cult members ran for Japan's parliament under a party called the Shinrito, the Truth Party. They campaigned in bizarre outfits, smiling unnaturally, promoting a utopian vision. They were annihilated in the election. It was humiliating, and something changed in Asahara. If Japan wouldn't accept him as a political leader, he would rule through fear. He began preaching that the world was heading toward Armageddon, a final war between good and evil, and only Aum would survive. To prepare, the cult militarized. They purchased land near Mount Fuji, built secret facilities, attempted to acquire firearms. Some members even traveled to Russia, seeking weapons and military connections. But their most terrifying focus wasn't bullets. It was chemical and biological weapons. The experiments, anthrax and sarin. In June 1993, residents of Kamaido in Tokyo complained of a foul, rotting smell drifting from an Aum building. It was later discovered that Aum had attempted to release anthrax bacteria into the air. The attempt failed, not because they changed their minds, but because they mistakenly used a non-lethal strain. They didn't stop. They refined sarin gas, a nerve agent originally developed by Nazi Germany, a colorless, odorless chemical weapon capable of killing within minutes. In June 1994, they tested it in the city of Matsumoto. Their target? 3 judges overseeing a real estate lawsuit against the cult. Under the cover of night, they released sarin into a quiet residential neighborhood. 8 people died. Over 270 were injured. Victims convulsed in the streets. Pets collapsed. Survivors described their vision going dark and lungs tightening. Authorities initially blamed a local resident. The cult escaped suspicion. The trigger: a race against the police. By early 1995, police were closing in. A man named Kiyoshi Kariya disappeared. His sister had escaped Aum, and investigators began connecting dots. Authorities prepared for a major raid on Aum facilities, but someone tipped Asahara off, and he decided to strike first. March 20th, 1995, the Tokyo subway attack. At the height of rush hour, 5 Aum members boarded trains on 3 major subway lines in Tokyo. Each carried plastic bags filled with liquid sarin wrapped in newspaper. At prearranged stations, they punctured the bags with sharpened umbrella tips. Then they stepped off the trains. The gas vaporized inside packed subway cars. Passengers began coughing, then choking, then collapsing. Station attendants tried to help, unaware they were exposing themselves. By the end of the day, 14 people were dead, around 6,500 were injured, thousands more reported long-term health complications. Japan was in shock. This wasn't foreign terrorism, it came from within. The fall of Aum police launched massive raids. Inside Aum compounds they discovered explosives, chemical stockpiles, illegal drugs captive members held against their will, laboratories capable of producing more sarin. After weeks in hiding, Shoko Asahara was found concealed inside a secret compartment in May 1995. He was arrested. After years of trials, he was found guilty on 13 charges, including murder. In 2004, he was sentenced to death. In 2018, he was executed by hanging, alongside several senior members. The cult that never fully died. Despite the horror, Aum Shinrikyo was not completely banned. It rebranded itself as Aleph. The group still exists today under strict government surveillance. Membership is smaller, public scrutiny is intense, but the ideology never fully disappeared. Why it still matters. Aum Shinrikyo wasn't a medieval cult in a remote jungle. It was modern, educated, scientifically skilled. It proved that fanatic belief combined with intelligence and resources can become catastrophic. And perhaps most chilling of all, many of its members weren't evil masterminds. They were ordinary people looking for meaning, and they found it in the wrong place.